So very much welcome to the theater today. I think we will have a thrilling day if you look at the speaker lineup. And really, my intention is not really to present a case study as such, but rather run the day in reverse. So try and wrap up what the other speakers are going to talk about, but start doing that in the beginning. A little Quentin Tarantino touch for you there. So I'm Niklas Hedin, I'm the CEO of Centiro. We're a software company within delivery management. So the capability to connect your carriers and manage your delivery network. Before we start, I'm going to make myself comfortable, and I need to ask you a question. You need to make a choice. So for those of you who've seen the movie Matrix will know what I'm talking about. When Neo, the head character, gets a choice to take a pill. If you choose to take the blue pill today, you will remember everything I say, and you will have a thrilling day with all the speakers, and you will make meaningful change in your organizations when you leave here. If you take the red pill, not only will you fall asleep in 30 seconds, the only thing you will remember from the day is me showing pictures of a toaster 3 times. That's the only thing you will remember in 30 minutes. So go ahead and make your choice, blue pill or red pill. Are you done? Made your choice? Right. So I'll come back to the toasters. They are part of the presentation, but really what is driving change in our world today, the reason why this event exists and many others like it, is the fact that we're becoming what some would call digital, which is the marriage between physical, brick and mortar, and digital. Some would say it's a pure digitization game that's going. But it's not really true. The seamless marriage between these two models is the critical thing. And what's driving this is the consumer, which is ahead of the game. The connected consumer who is mobile and very, very aware of what's going on. Spend loads of time on their mobile devices or their internet-connected devices, even at home, even in the shop. And they're combining their physical experience with a digital one to make sure they get what they want. And they're not only looking for a product as such, they're looking for the shopping experience, and they're also looking for services to help them. And the seamless delivery is a key part of this. So why is there a retail logistics theater today? Well, because seamless delivery is a key and crucial capability for retailers and online players to have. And I'll show you a picture of one. This is a mammal, and they will be flocking in the roads soon. When the smell of carbon fiber comes high in the air, and you see all these modern 10,000-pound bikes. This is actually a friend of mine. So you have 3 kinds of consumers that we see. The middle-aged men in Lycra. Very, very specialized interests. They buy a lot of parts to their bikes and whatnot on the internet, and they're looking for specialty things. They're very aware of what they're buying. They spend loads of time researching what they want. Then they have the yoplets, the young urban professionals with lack of time. So they use online and digital to make sure that they can be more efficient. They are the ones who go shopping for Christmas presents online rather than going to the store. And then you have the new coming generation, which is the mobile kids with lots of friends, the moklovs. And the divide between these two is the 2 above are digital immigrants, whereas the growing group of consumers is the moklovs, the digital natives. So one of the topics for today is brought to you by Catherine Hillaby. She's the demand and fulfillment manager for Mondelez. She will be talking about the topic, is supply chain a boardroom issue? Is retail logistics a boardroom issue? Well, it turns out it is. And here are some of the reasons for it. First of all, digital bound sales, or digital initial sales, or digital influenced sales, whether you call it online or you call it ROPO, or whatever you choose to call it, the share of that is increasing dramatically. I'm speaking to some major retailers, and they say they're hitting their 2020 mark. So their goal for year 2020, they're hitting already Christmas sales 2014. share is up to as much as 40% of the sales for some retailers, which is digitally influenced. Online sales in the UK alone hit £100 billion 2014, and it's growing quite rapidly. So what does this do? Well, it drives the interest from financial analysts. So financial analysts now look very, very carefully into the company's performance. They look into what the delivery capabilities are, what the online presence is, what is made as an offer to the consumer, and this is on Wall Street, this is on the London Stock Exchange, etc. That also drives the interest into the boardroom. Second issue that we saw a little bit of in the Christmas shopping this year, if you look to the Marks & Spencer financial report, is the returns issue is looming large. And there are a couple of reasons for that. So returns, the right to return is becoming harmonized across the EU. In some countries, it's very, very mature. You have as much as an average return rate of 60%. We've seen with some product categories, with some customers we have, return rates of up to 80% for certain products. But the story on the average return is not true. There's no such thing as an average return rate, because it's always a matter of understanding your key product. But it's hitting now revenue increase and revenue growth in a way that have huge retailers like Marks & Spencer come out and say, well, actually, our growth slowed down because of the returns. So that makes it a boardroom issue. The third topic, we could go on for a while, is the concentration of sales in certain seasons. And you will hear Guy Meisel later today talk about how you flex your fulfillment and delivery system to prepare for peaks and troughs. But we saw retailers struggle with Black Friday and the fact that sales are condensing down into more peak-like units of time. And this, of course, stresses delivery networks, it stresses capabilities, it stresses warehouses. Most of the retailers have capabilities that are well-tuned to, for example, supply stuff to a store in a very, very fine-tuned manner. But they're not dealt to handle with this complexity. So it's time to level up and run better. And John Munnelly from John Lewis & Partners Partnership will talk about automation in a D2C omnichannel fulfillment world. So he will talk about how you can increase your operational efficiency and, of course, also deal with the peaks and troughs in a more smarter way. I had an interesting conversation with a leading retailer not too long ago, and he said something like this, which is a quote I've come to be very, very fond of. He said, "I want you to remove the sticky tape and glue that holds our process together and make it more robust and agile." So the story on leveling up, we see the capabilities in retail, the understanding for the customer is kind of there. It could get better, but it's fairly mature. But thinking in terms of leveling up is also providing a robust backend that is built to deal with the fluctuations and the new consumer behaviors. And when a retailer says it like this, it kind of paints you a picture of the swan. So you see the beautiful thing floating on top, but you don't see the paddling underneath. And in many supply chains, in many delivery setups, there's a lot of sticky tape holding things together. And that needs to go away. We're talking about systems, we're talking about automation, we're talking about new ways of bringing your IT landscape together and your operational capabilities too. And so why is this important? Well, it turns out that 80% of consumers will hold the brand accountable for what's going on with the delivery. So when a delivery is made, which is the result of an online consumer or digital consumer behaving in their normal way, that results often in a delivery, either to store or to your home. If that misses out on its promise, they're holding the brand accountable. And we still see retailers treating, for example, carriers and the carrier networks as a thing on the side, as a logistics capability that is kept far down the P&L. When it's actually, if you look to the statistics, it's a brand equity. It's something that is strategically important in the marketing setup. That's the way the consumer sees it anyway. It turns out also, if you keep your promise on delivery, some 48% of the consumers will recommend the next purchase. So it tells you also a story on loyalty. So act faster. Now comes the first picture of the toaster. So for those of you who have taken the red pill, this is the first toaster. Why is the toaster important? Well, it turns out when we're researching consumer behaviors and the way they view the world, it's not about the product. It's not even about the brand, if you think so. They're more interested in what their community is saying. Turns out that 60 to 75% of consumers are asking for advice before they make a purchase. There's only one category where that statistics is not true, and that is for toasters. So when you buy toasters, you don't call your friend, essentially. Whereas if you buy a car, if you buy a sweater, if you buy something else, then you're asking your friends. You're reaching out. It could be social, it could be on Facebook, could be on Twitter, etc. But you take in the community voice, either privately or digitally, but you listen to the community. So for those companies who are product-focused, they should be looking to the communities. I spoke to one of the leading sports brands not too long ago, and they're all community-centric. They're thinking community-centric all the way from the top down, all the way to their execution capabilities inside their organization. So who is interested in football? What are the interests of people talking about football? What are they talking about? And that then drives the organization all the way down to the product. Second reason why the toaster is important, or rather the shopping process for the toaster. Couch is king. So it turns out that before you come to the store, or even when you're in the store, as much as up to 70 to 80% of the consumers has already been online, checking out the product, checking out if the inventory is available, and what other people say about it, even when they're in the store. So what does this mean to the supply chain? Well, it means that you should be using this data to connect to your forecasts and planning, etc., because that's valid information on what the consumer is about to do. Some would call this big data, but some of it is rather small, actually. I don't like the fad word of big data, even though there are a lot of people throwing it around. But let's just say there are different sources of information, and the purchase point is not the only one. You can actually look further into the process, or further earlier in the process, and use that data you already have. People are checking the inventory online. Use that data to drive your decisions and planning. So which brings us to be smarter. This is the second time I'll be showing the toaster for those of you who took the red pill. And it's a story on returns. So when the toaster gets returned to the warehouse, in European companies, there's only 1/3 of the companies that use the data on returns in a way that they can measure the sales performance. 2/3, most of the companies, run their accounting in such a way that they cannot see the net margin of what they sold. That includes the returns. So what is this story saying? Well, it's saying that by just re-rigging, this is not about big data, this is using the data you already have. So by taking the information you already get from the returns, but making sure that it gets accounted for in the right way, you can start to see the true picture of what sold and what didn't sell. This is also about capturing the logistics costs, such as bringing the product back, sending a new product out, and the returns processing costs. This is also where software and new capabilities come into play to do this automatically. And quite frankly, on the note of sustainability, we're of the opinion that many products shouldn't be returned at all. They should probably be kept or scrapped where they are, because the transportation cost is huge, and the environmental impact of bringing a product back is huge. And it's only 50% of the product that gets back to the warehouse that are resold at some value that recovers the gross margin. But there's a huge interest from the consumer at this point, so why not see returns as an opportunity rather than as a cost recovery exercise? And this is something we also will be hearing later today from Jonathan Gorst. He's a senior lecturer at Sheffield Business School. He'll be talking about multi-channel returns logistics challenge or a commercial opportunity, or rather, how to make it into a commercial opportunity. On the be smarter note, there's another thing. We think there will be new models. And Chris Rode, Amazon, is going to speak today about the power of the platform. So, and we think there's new value to be had here. If you go turn from the old school way of doing things and looking into new things. So look at transportation, personal transportation. Look at the company Uber, for example. They've turned crowdsourcing into a business model. We've yet to see, we know that this exists in some geographical areas in logistics, but I think we will see more asset-light or asset-free crowdsourced models also in delivery. This is actually one of the ways I believe we can tackle the peaks and troughs that we see in the retail scene. All right. So how do you then deal with all of this if your organization looks like this? Well, it turns out this is not only about new thought and coming back to your office and being all energized and making a shout to someone or making a call to the director asking for a meeting. This is about strategy, it's about structure, it's about alignment. And it's about how you empower people. Because the world is moving faster. And then it's a story on how do you actually deal with this. Those of you who took the red pill, this is the third and final time I'll be showing the toaster. It turns out there is a good story on toast making here that I will tell you. On empowering organizations. What I encourage you to do is to go back to your office and take your team into a room and have them silently draw the process of making toast. Ask them to draw that on a piece of paper. And then ask them to do it on a couple of sticky notes. Then, once they've done that, you will see that they draw toast making in a very, very different way. Some of them will draw the toaster. Some of them will draw the people making the toast if they're happy when the toast pops up. Some engineers will draw the inside of the toaster and illustrate what the toasting process looks like. Very, very different takes on what toasting looks like. A simple thing as that. Then have the team try to assemble their sticky notes to make the new toasting process. And you will discover that not only fundamentally have they different views of how toasts are being made, but also the toasting process gets more involved. There are more sticky notes on the team toasting process than on your own. So what does this tell us? Well, first of all, look at your organization and ask yourself, does this organization really know what the goals are of the company? Do they even know what the goals of the consumer is? This is a very powerful method that we use with our customers to come up with where customer value is created and destroyed, looking at the full circle brand experience that we encourage people to look at. And we're going from a time where less is more, where lean was the leading norm for how you set up a supply chain and set up a company, to something that is more agile and empowered. Think Tesla compared to GM, for example. And I think you catch my drift. And when you're about to change your company all around, or even your team, think about change in the way you think about popcorn. People adapt to change like popcorn pop. Some will pop very quickly and understand directly what you mean when you run your toasting exercise. Some will take some time. Just make sure that people don't get left on the bottom and get burnt in the process. That tastes bad. All right, so to finish it up, what does the full circle brand experience has to do with all of this? Well, remember I told you that the world is becoming digital. And we see many retailers miss out on the fact that when you shop and you're digitally influenced or digitally executing your delivery or getting your delivery to your home, etc., you're in a circle experience where the stroll and select interconnects with how you transact your purchase, interconnects with how you want to return. Most of the folks that shop online will look at the returns policy before they shop and will judge you on the fact, is it easy or difficult to return with you? That's more important than selling almost. Yet, many websites doesn't look this way. They don't take care of this sort of information in a good way. So we're a company that focuses on this full circle. And that's the only commercial plug that will exist in my presentation today. And I welcome you to speak to my colleagues over at the booth or reach out to me if you want to talk further on this. So that's the end note from the sponsor. Now, for those of you who took the red pill, again, you will only remember seeing 3 pictures of toast today. For those of you who took the blue pill, you will remember the stories of what the toast maker was about. How to use the returns data, how to run in a more agile and empowered way, how to flex your fulfillment and delivery systems. These are all stories we will be hearing throughout the day. So I wish you a very, very good and informing day here at the NEC, and I say thank you very much.